All right, good evening. So this is a poetic piece is dedicated to all the women entrepreneurs on Women Equality Day today. The road to success is paved with tests. You've got to believe in yourself above the rest. Dream big and let your passion shine. You, if you if you don't, you won't end up with a dime. Challenge the status quo, disrupt the market, and say yes. And remember that innovation is an endless quest. Don't forget to change business for good. If you want to change the world, then you should. If you think from your head and listen, you'll get off a flying start. Make bold moves, but always play fair. Always say please and thank you. It's cool to care. Do what you love and love what you do. This advice is nothing new. Now stop worrying about whether your business will be a hit. Rise to a challenge. Say screw it and let us do it. Let us do it and let us do it together. So this very inspiring poetic piece is written by Sir Richard Branson, who is the founder of Virgin Group of Industries. And he wrote this poem when he was just 15 years old. So in our life, we get to meet some people who touch our lives and transform it for better. So we are lucky that today we have one such person amongst us. She is consistently working towards empowering people, transforming their lives through her mentorship and efforts. She has just told me that she has left Oxford University's options just because she wanted to, work towards entrepreneurship and she wanted to actually start VHub as a CEO. So this is such a great piece of information and as an inspirational, you know, anecdote. I mean, there's a long story. There must be a long story behind it. So Deepti Rabula is the first CEO of VHub, and which is a government of Telangana's initiative. The first of its kind incubator aimed to promote women entrepreneurship exclusively among women. Situated in Hyderabad, the city, which is the biggest ITES exporter of India, housing Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, VHub is harnessing the tremendous uh, potential this sunrise sector can offer and is supporting women entrepreneurs coming from various socioeconomic stratas. Deepti is electronics engineer by profession and passion. She has 15 years of experience working in US with Palm, Nokia, Qualcomm. She joined the government of Telangana as a joint director of electronics in 2016 and has been appointed as the first CEO of VHub since inception. She envisions creating a work environment that is gender blind and constructing economic independence as a tool for our empowerment. She is a strong proponent of girls in STEAM sector and women in decision-making spaces. Welcome, Deepti. My name is Juhi, and I am leading Shakti, one of the most beautiful and empowering initiatives of University of Petroleum and Energy Studies. You, DP has declared, we have declared year 2020 as the year of women empowerment and launched Shakti Initiative, which is basically to explain gender equality inside the campus and outside the campus. And Shakti focuses upon various agendas, but a few to note. We offer 25% scholarship to all girls who are joining this year, any of the courses. We also offer leadership development program for our potential leaders inside the campus and also for other institutions across globe. So we also do gender sensitization program for girls inside the campus, boys inside the campus, so all students, all faculty, all employees. And to apprise you, Deepti, that we have UPES Council for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, which is supported by the government of Uttarakhand, and it is a business incubator. And we also have a wing for women in this UCIE, which is called as Women Entrepreneurship Forum. So this was all about us, and now I won't actually, uh, delay it further, I would like to ask a few very interesting questions to you. So, all of us, we would like to know about your journey from the classroom to the boardroom.
Dr. Garg, it's such a pleasure being here. So, and thank you for the very warm introduction. And one thing I just realized that it would have been so much better if I could actually be there in Uttarakhand now, because I've never been there and I've heard so much about how beautiful it is.
You'll
So it's a
definitely come.
we should, yes, yes, God willing and COVID going. So to start off with, yes, what you've said in the introduction is something that just like everybody else. I'll start out with what I did in my past life and what I'm trying to do now. So I'm born and brought up in Hyderabad. I went to an all-girls school. Then I went to a very all-girls college. And then my dad wanted me to join an all-girls engineering college because in Hyderabad, everybody goes to an engineering college. But my dad wanted me to continue the trend. But I was like, come on, so much of girls. So let me just go to, I really wanted to get away from this entire girl thing. So life comes a full circle, as you see now. So,
Yeah, all
so
women
yes.
against.
So I did my undergraduation in electronics and communications, and again, the participation in the electronics and communications when I was pursuing engineering was quite low. Computers was something very sought after, and then also like there were a lot of other courses. After engineering, like every self-respecting Hyderabadi student, South Indian student, without wasting a day, I went to the US for my masters, and I went to CSU San Diego for my masters, and I did my post-graduation in communications engineering, and I was working mainly on the radio communication side of things. So I went to school in San Diego. My life was great. I was in California for about 14, 15 years. But then once when you go through life and when you're comfortable, that is the time you start to get a little bit restless. So anything comfortable is a very wrong place for somebody to be in, because that means you're not learning, you're not growing. So about 15 years of being in the US, life happened, a lot of things, right? You life cycles happen, and then after 15 years, I was like, what else can we do to and I'm from Telangana, and Telangana being a new state, I knew a lot of people from various ideologies who were part of the Telangana movement. We'll talk about that later. But there are a lot of people who were part of the various ideologies, and I was always in touch with what was happening back home. And there was an opportunity for somebody to become the joint director for the government of Telangana, and somebody who wanted to write policies and all that. So 15 years later, I actually packed my bags and both my children. And 2 days later, I left my 15-year career in the US and came back to Hyderabad. So throughout my 15 years, I never worked with women. I was always the only woman in the team. I was working as an RF engineer, and I was working primarily in the R&D side of things. And I never realized that I had a lot of benefits on my end, because for me it was work and it was life. They never overlapped for me. But when I came back to Hyderabad, I realized that a lot of initiatives were there for women entrepreneurs, but no women ever entered the office. So we were discussing on how do we solve this problem of getting more women into offices and getting more women to become entrepreneurs, because we had all these policy. I was a lady sitting on the other side of the table, and 2 years later, I barely saw 5 to 6 women entrepreneurs enter my office. And that is something that we were discussing extensively in our government and our minister. We were all discussing, and that is how the genesis for We Have happened. And one thing my bosses strongly believed in is that if you identify a problem and if you offer a solution, you better drive it yourself. And that is how I'm the CEO of We Have today. So that is my journey. But yeah, I mean, nothing interesting. Like everybody else went, came back, and life just happened, and I've just enjoying the ride. That's all.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. It's rather inspiring that you're doing such a good work. I've been following your it was inspiring. I mean, that's modesty. So, when you're a leader who is supporting entrepreneurs and transforming their lives, how do you identify and recognize the potential of an entrepreneur? Because they are usually not aware of their own potential. So how do you do
See,
that?
one of the things is it's a very interesting question. See, a lot of times we do things without labels on them, right? Oh,
Let me
sorry.
close it.
A lot of times in life we do things without putting labels on what we are trying to do. So for us at VHub, the way we identify the potential of an entrepreneur is by the way they communicate, the way they kind of put forth their idea, and more importantly, when they come forth and say, I have this idea, I have this solution, and I have these three gaps, can you help me? That is when we actually identify them. Because a lot of times when you talk about entrepreneurship among women, people always think it is lack of funding or lack of something else or lack of something else, but it is mostly the lack of for us it is important that we have a lack of hesitation to ask for what they want. And the day you cross that bridge to kind of asking for what you want, that is when we have an entrepreneur. And what is the importance of being an entrepreneur? I think it is they just evolve into it. I mean, people just don't come in and say, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be on the page of Forbes. They come in saying, I have an idea, I want to take it forward. And we just enable them to do it. And it's always important to be unaware of what you are, because the day you start being aware of what you are, then you'll take yourself too seriously and there is always a potential to fail. So always be wanting to be something instead of saying that I'm already something. And that is the quest to learn and be humble about where you're going. So yeah, I hope it answers.
No, no, definitely. How beautifully you explained, when you're all full, there's no scope of learning, of course. So, what do you think, since we're dealing after T Hub? T Hub was primarily there in Telangana, and after that V Hub came, and you shared the information that how it evolved, because there were very less women, participating into it. So, do you think that gender play an important role when it comes to entrepreneurial experience and journey?
To be very honest, the only thing that actually matters in being an entrepreneur is your commitment and dedication. And gender does not play a big role. And I'm not going to say that it does, but it is not in terms of the commitment and dedication. So commitment, dedication has no gender. Number two, and if you're trying to build a successful startup and you're trying to get venture funding, money does not have any gender. So focus on your product, focus on your product and focus on getting money for your product and focus on being the best entrepreneur you can. And when you walk into a room and dazzle somebody with your idea and your offering, no, people will notice after a very long time that you're a woman. But when you walk in saying, I'm a women entrepreneur, please take my product, you're already seeking a patronizing approach, and that is never good. So that is something that we always teach our entrepreneurs. You are an entrepreneur first. You are actually a job creator first. You are a product creator and innovator second. You are actually an entrepreneur third, and gender immaterial number four. So please don't factor gender into everything, because that's why you're at VHub, right? We'll take care of all that stuff. So yeah.
Absolutely. It's basically a psychological social construct that we carry in our head. Otherwise, it's only biological difference. And virtues has no gender, blessings has no gender.
Money has no
Opportunities,
gender.
money has no gender. Opportunities
Because
has no
see,
gender.
when you go meet a VC, they will not. I mean, there is. Again, probably we are. The reason I'm saying this, Juhi, is because we are speaking to a bunch of students who actually have opportunities right there in front of them. The problems or the things that we are talking about are something that are actually your parents and my mother had. See, because of the way they are, we are at a place where we are able to have a conversation, and the generation after us has opportunities where they need to be prepared to grab them. The talk about, we don't have opportunities, how do we be a woman, that is all past. Let's just go ahead, just keep our, focus on the goal and let's go for it. That's it.
That's wonderful. So, the couple of researchers that tells us that women venture out for social organizations, more into NGOs. So, and they have a hitch for creating venture which is profit making.
Mm.
So, is it true? One, and why do you think this phenomena exists if it is true? And why they basically hesitate in venturing out for all profit business?
Yes, I'm really glad that you asked the question. Yes, a lot of women actually set up NGOs. A lot of women do this because they want to give back. And a lot of times they never actually factor in profit or any kind of business into their element. And, this phenomena is absolutely there. So the reason why they don't ask for money is number one, they hesitate to ask for money. Number two, when they get the money and they want to get into profit and loss, they're a little bit skeptical that if I get into the money making aspect of it, will I actually lose the goodness in my ambition and in my
Yeah.
mission? And that is the reason why they hesitate to go for it. But I'm happy to tell you that there is a lot of money in NGOs. There's a lot of money in scaling your good thoughts. The reason I say this, do you know the biggest profit making entities are actually social enterprises?
Yes.
Because everybody is trying to create for impact. When I say profit, it is in terms of impact. So women should always go for profit making enterprises, because why else would you do a business? There's no point. Why would you waste your time on something which is not making money, and you're not able to hire people, and you're not able to keep people in their jobs, and become a role model for everybody around you? So there is no other alternative. So yeah, just set up an enterprise. Even if you want to do good, make sure that you're also maintaining a balance sheet, because as long as you're a non-profit, you yourself are depending on somebody's charity.
Yes.
When you start making money, you're your own boss, and you can actually steer your own direction and become a woman leader. So yes, always go for a profit making entity.
That's a perfect insight. In fact, I have also experienced a couple of entrepreneurs who come, women entrepreneurs in particular, to where they say that I don't know, people are going to trust us on making money making a business. People would invest in us or not. They're hesitant on that. And yes, I mean, there's no harm, there's no bad intention if you think that, I want to earn money and help others. There's no harm
More
absolutely.
importantly,
So
Juhi, to add to that, when you are taking money from somebody, your commitment to deliver becomes more, because you're answerable to people. And that
100%.
is very important, because when you have a confidence in your mission is when you actually take somebody's money and say, I will take your money and deliver more. So that is something we need to build, not excuses.
Absolutely, that has more meaning and greater amount of commitment,
Yeah.
certainly. So, Deepti, I did a research approximately a year ago, and the findings were very interesting, and I got to know that women. The research was all about why women entrepreneurs fear from in venturing out. So, there were multiple layers of fear. I found out. One was there was a low self-esteem, poor confidence level. Was the first level, which is individual level fear factor. The second level was the reference to pressure, peer pressure, family pressure, societal norms, and stereotypes regarding women. And third was which you guys are really helping people a lot. Connecting them with market, creating a market for them, helping them get connected to venture capitalists and angel investors and so on and so forth. So there are three layers. But my question is that how these fear factors can be eliminated from the mind of these women.
Very simple, actually. I'm sorry. I may not be
That's okay.
giving you the most, how should I put it, politically correct answer. The way you get over all these fears is because nobody else is living your life. Sorry, the way you get over these fears is by realizing that nobody else is living your life except you. The day you realize that you're living for yourself and you're here for a short amount of time, that is when you realize that you have to achieve every single day. So if you stop focusing on what is stopping you, and if you start looking at what else is out there, I think you will do excellent. Have a sense of purpose, number one. Second thing is, if you have, again, I'm not saying ignore your fears. Have fears, but make sure that in your mind you're able to answer and counter each one of them. The reason I say this is because if you're really scared of too many things, you'll become a very old person with very few experiences in life.
Mm.
So ensure that you listen to your inner critic. Ensure that you are able to answer to each one of your fears, and ensure that you say that all these are immaterial and I can overcome everything. And that is going to build you a lot of confidence. And last and most important, every morning, I would like to request, this is something I try to practice and in my own life, is that when you wake up in the morning, you ask yourself, why am I actually waking up today? Why am I actually going to the office?
Beautiful.
Why am I doing something? The day your why is only like, because I have to, I would request stop doing whatever you're doing and try to do something else, because you're not enjoying yourself. And when you're not enjoying yourself and delivering for impact, you're just one person in a seat or a chair or or whatever else you're doing, you are actually burdening and bringing everybody down. So I think the only thing that is stopping you is you, and please stop that. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for this wonderful answer. In fact, there's a beautiful TED Talks by Simon Sinek on why.
Ah.
So, which is a very popular and highly viewed and cited TED Talk. So, all the entrepreneurs here, if you wish to know why of your life, you can always go and watch Simon Sinek. He's the management philosopher and a beautiful, he gives beautiful TED Talks.
Oh.
So, another interesting question to you, Deepti, is that India is deficient with respect to women in the STEAM sector.
Mm.
Also, STEM related ventures. How can we build a culture which inspires women to opt for STEM courses and ventures?
So I'm happy that you're asking this question because I'm an engineer myself, and we are talking about engineering school. So one of the things is that if you notice and look around, a lot of your teachers are actually women. I don't know how many of you agree.
100%.
Number
Most
one. So
here
there are
also.
women in STEM.
Yes.
So having women in STEM is not the problem. Having them scale to being leaders in the STEM fields is what the issue is. So for that, I think that is where we need to do a lot of work. So for VHub, I'll just go back into what we are trying to do. At VHub, what we are doing is we are actually taking this entire STEM curriculum and making it hands-on classes. What I mean by that is that we are actually trying to create more robotics clubs in schools and colleges across classes.
Okay,
And it is
across
actually
class.
across classes, because the thing is, when you are taking up an activity of robotics or whatever and you teach it as a course, a lot of people will not, I mean, a lot of children will do it as one more academic tick. But when you say that, go build an e-bike, or go build, 60 of you in this robotics club, go build something, each one of them comes to the table with an expertise only they have. So that will bring a culture of camaraderie and a culture of networking among girls in STEM, number one. Second thing that we are doing is that, I don't know how many of you are aware, there are a lot of initiatives and also a lot of funding programs by Department of Science and Technology to get women researchers into STEM and make them stay. Number three is that when you are looking for a job, and I'm talking to students here, don't look for a job which is going to pay you well. Look for a job which is going to make you work hard, and look for a job in the R&D side of things, and that is going to make sure that more women actually scale to heights in the R&D sector. Number four, most important, is that we need to make sure that more work environments are women friendly. What I mean by that is that, some many times when the reason why women drop out of the STEM fields is because between 23 to 40 is the time people grow in their career. But for women, that is also the time your body also changes, and you have to go through certain
Hormonal.
changes in your life, maybe family decisions, certain things. So if we make workspaces more conducive to the changes in a woman's life, I think more and more women will be comfortable with working longer and staying longer in the R&D fields, because their childcare is right in the office. They have a creche in the office. There is no worry about taking care of children. And having children has been one of the biggest drop-off reasons for many women. But if we can make workspaces more conducive to having women continue in STEM fields, that is going to absolutely help. Number five, most important. Again, I'm going to tell you this. STEM is uncool, but being uncool is the only way to be very, very cool, because nobody else is going to do what you're doing. So I would like to say that, don't listen to anybody. Just continue on being a nerd, because nerds are cool. Yeah.
That's perfect. So I read in one of the articles that you have worked a lot for this particular thing, taking care of women at the workspaces. You have a child play area in VHub. You have very women-friendly offices, nursing rooms, and all that stuff there in VHub.
Yeah.
Quite considerate of, quite sensitive step by the government. Really appreciate that. And that's wonderful. In fact, in one of the researches of World Economic Forum, they said there are two skills that are going to work for next decade at least. One is collaboration, second is research. So
Yeah.
you must work towards your research and collaborative research.
Because see, now if you look at it, a lot of conversation goes around AI. So one of the things is, I don't know how many of you are aware, there is something known as biases in AI.
Uh-huh.
And these biases are arising. Why? Because there are fewer people with various skill sets who are actually becoming, the data researchers. And for that, we need more women in different socioeconomic strata and different phases to be part of this entire revolution. So I think there is a lot of opportunities for women to be a part of it, and it is only up to us to grab them. So please do grab it. Yeah.
Certainly. Beautiful. So, with geographical borders almost being seamless now, how do you think the opportunities for women entrepreneurs are phasing in India?
Yes, you're absolutely right. With COVID being the unfortunate leveler for everything, the good thing that has come out is that you can actually start a business from anywhere. So in our case, we actually what happened is one of our startups has actually started a collaboration with a Swiss startup since April of 2020.
Wow.
Because see, lack of borders means you are actually free to find a teammate, a collaborator, a business, investor, a business idea anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
So now I think with the borders not existing, it has become a lot more simpler for women to do a lot more work together. And an example for this is that one of our startups has actually also found she makes latex-free condoms, and she realized she was researching on latex, and then she realized that an researcher in Australia is actually already working on this.
Wow.
So we created a collaboration between Australian University of Queensland, and our entrepreneur. So avenues have expanded by a world margin. So now is the time to do more. Yeah.
So interesting. So, Aditi, how important it is the aspect of pitching, pitching your venture
Mm.
in order to pull in investments and some tips of the trade I would like to know from you, for my girls, and for participants.
Yes. How important is the aspect of pitching? I think pitching is the only aspect that is going to get your idea to the world. So it
Hmm.
is extremely important. Second thing is that to actually be able to pitch effectively, ensure that you have you have like a two-liner pitch about your company. Because if you can't explain something in 2 lines, that means it's already not you're not making a good product. So tips of the trade is that be articulate and be clear, because if you're not clear in your head, you'll speak for a much longer time. So speak shorter, be clearer, and more importantly, one request I have, again, this is something politically not correct, is that there is a lot of narrative around when you go for pitching. A lot of entrepreneurs start out by saying, one day I was going on the road, I saw this person, I felt bad. The storytelling aspect, don't copy
Hmm.
from anybody.
Hmm.
Your story might be the most mundane for you, but it will actually be interesting for anybody if you can actually deliver it well. So focus on your own story. And next thing is that everybody is going to ask you, what are your financial projections?
Hmm. Hmm.
So be clear with your financial projections. Next thing is that one of the biggest mistakes a lot of startups do is that when they do competitor analysis, they say that my product is 10x cheaper than my competitor. And that is a wrong thing.
Mistake.
The reason is that if you're making a product 10x cheaper, that means you are bringing in zero innovation into it. Instead of that, you can say, my product is 2x expensive because I have 2x amount of innovation in this. And that is the value add that I'm bringing in. So work on these kinds of aspects, and that is going to make your startup a killer. Yeah. Pitch a
Wow.
killer. Yeah.
Wow. So great tip is there are almost 5 tips that she has given. So you must actually pitch in 2 lines. If you can explain your business in 2 lines, which means you're very clear in your head. Your concept is absolutely clear in your head.
Yeah.
So try for that, and be very sure about the budget and the financial aspects. So thank you. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Coming back to you, Deepthi, your inspirational journey from classroom to the boardroom, we would like to know if you can share one of your favorite stories around yourself which can inspire these young girls.
To be
There
very
must be
honest,
many incidences. Must be
ev-
many incidences.
every day is an interesting story for me. So to be honest, my inspirational journey, I don't think my journey is just started. So I'm just
Wow.
looking forward to what will be there. But personal story, okay. So I'll be very honest, guys. One of the interesting things is that when VHub was created, again, this is something that I have not really spoken about anywhere. When VHub was created, nobody told me what VHub was supposed to be. Nobody told me what VHub's mandate was. So we discussed we should have a platform for women entrepreneurs. We announced it. We announced it when Ivanka Trump was in India, and it was 2,500 women entrepreneurs from 127 countries in the world in the
Wow.
audience. We announced. And 2 weeks later, and I was like sitting in the audience and thinking, who will be the CEO of VHub? Because it seems like a very, gigantic task. And 2 weeks later, the minister calls me into the room in front of like 50 to 60 officers and says, Deepti, congratulations, you're the CEO of VHub.
Huge.
That is
Huge.
amazing. And then he also
Huge.
tells me, yeah, it is very huge. That is cool. And he also says, so on March 8th, you have to launch VHub. I was like,
Amazing. Mm.
I didn't know that. So I was like, sir, why March 8th? It's barely 2 weeks away. You have to start learning these. It's Women's Day on March 8th. Make sure that you launch VHub on March 8th. So I just got to know I was heading VHub, which has no mandate, no budget, no people, no nothing. It is just an idea and a tagline. So, and he also told me that it has to be a big event because no other state in the country has a VHub. So then, the reason I'm telling you the story is because we did launch VHub on March 8, 2018. And if you know Tessie Thomas, she was the chief guest for the inauguration. Vani Kola was again the chief guest for the inauguration. And the best part, I never met them before that. So what I'm trying to get at is, even on the day of the inauguration, I did not have a logo for VHub. We designed it on the day of the
And this
inauguration.
is so beautiful. What lovely colors it has. Powerful
So
colors.
what I'm trying to get at is, I had no resources. I had no nothing. I had no mandate. I had no nothing. But one thing I knew is that we had to make VHub launch something because I'm representing Telangana on a national stage.
Yes.
And
International rather.
international stage. So that is that. And for about 8 months after the formation of VHub, I had no team. I had no money. And I'm happy to share that March 8, 2018, we launched VHub. And March 29, 2019, we launched this space again with zero budget. I have no money. It was just uh, we could manage somehow. And I now have a team of 14 people, and we incubated close to 89 startups, and we actually still don't have money, and we are a very streamlined team, but we have more than 46 partner organizations who pay for all our programs. The reason
So,
I'm telling you this is because, not to say what I did, but more in terms of, like, if you keep on thinking what you don't have, you'll never get to what you should have.
should have.
So always please keep when you see something like this, people think the office was given to me like this. No, it was literally like my team and I hired my first team member in May of 2018. So 3 months, it was just me in a 6 by 6 room with a table and 4 chairs around me. And I was thinking, what should we do at VHub? And 4 months later, I finally had clarity. And that is when I started hiring. And now we are 14 people, 89 startups, 3,500 rural women, and 40 plus partner organizations. And I'm honored to be speaking to you. So the inspirational story is just starting. Yeah.
I mean, wow. This is really, really interesting. Amazing it is. And we would definitely like to collaborate with you maybe
Yeah.
coming months or so. So I'm sure this is you must have many success stories of your entrepreneurs as well. So one of the favorite stories of your entrepreneur, which is very close to your heart.
To be honest, all our entrepreneurs are close to our heart, but one of the them is actually quite a cool thing is that we had this lady who came from a village which is 170 kilometers away from Hyderabad. So she apparently saw VHub in one of the WhatsApp forwards. So she didn't speak English, she didn't have a business. She came to us with 20,000 rupees and said, I want to start a garment unit to employ about 100 people in my village.
So
She, j-
clear.
that's it. She came. And she's like, Madam, I don't know what to do. You help me. So we said, she says garment unit. Why don't we buy her some wholesale fabrics and see if she can sell and come back? So 20,000 rupees, she went back. And about 2.5 weeks later, she came back saying, my stock is over. And I made a profit of 20 more thousand rupees.
Super.
So then we realized she's actually capable. So after that, we started training her. And about 3.5 months later, she raised 5 lakhs as a personal investment from an equity funding partner who took 3% stake in her entity. And now she employs 12 people in her village in Parkal, which is 170 kilometers away. And she's giving jobs to 12 people. And she will be inaugurating her unit sometime end of this year. The reason I'm telling you this is that she still doesn't speak English,
Doesn't matter.
but she had the guts to walk in and say, I want to do this, help me.
Yes.
So open your mouth and ask for what you want, because nobody is going to come give it to you. Yeah. So
God help
Radhika is her
those.
name.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
So God help those who help themselves.
Yes.
Very, very aptly said, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful story.
Yeah.
So, lot many people here who are present would like to know the CEO's success mantra. What is this CEO's mantra for success?
CEO success mantra is that I mean, the mantra for success is always, again, I told you, right? Every day, think of what else you can do. The day you stop doing things is when the day you fail. The success mantra is, just stand up and be determined and be very clear in your ask and approach VHub or WF, whatever you want. And then that is going to be making you successful. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely. So this is my last question to you as a panelist and
Huh.
as a moderator. Then we will open the forum,
Yes.
and participants can raise their questions. They can directly message me, or they can directly message. In fact, they should message me, and we can filter out and do things. So my last question is very interesting with respect to the university wherein I work, or for the other universities, because this particular video is going to be broadcasted very soon on different platforms. So, how universities can create a cohesive ecosystem for women entrepreneurs?
Oh, cool. I'm glad we are having this conversation. So, for universities to create a cohesive ecosystem, number one is that you need to make sure that you don't make it as one of the additional topics for a conversation or a club. Make sure that you take these young girls who are very interested in entrepreneurship and put them through a rigorous process. Number one. Second thing is that
How
ensure
do you
that
define the rigorous process? I'm sorry I interrupted.
no worries, no worries. Rigorous means that if somebody wants to be an entrepreneur, just don't do the work for them. Make sure that they are actually reaching out to your network of incubators or your network of mentors that you have, to make sure that this is an idea and a team worth investing time in. Be
Yes.
very careful in the kind of selection of women or girls that you take in to be entrepreneurs representing your college. Number 3 is most important. Ensure that you don't treat them as student entrepreneurs.
Very
Treat them
important.
as entrepreneurs who are actually creating a product for the market
Absolutely.
and offer training in that aspect. Number 4 is that let it not be a college project, and when you are actually confident on something, put in some amount of funding so that you actually don't create one more startup team, but actually create a startup within your own incubator, and make sure that you nurture it throughout. So that is something that universities need to do a lot, because these days when you look at it, every university has an incubator, but everything is something that the students do till they get a job. So creating that fire of being a job creator is something that universities need to do a lot more, I think. So yeah.
That's lovely. That's wonderful. So I could see a few questions here. So Kanika asked, what does it feel like to be a CEO? Is this a lot of pressure for you?
The question done.
So how does it feel like to be a CEO of Rehab? And there must be a lot of pressure for you.
Of course. If there's no pressure, there's no fun. That means that nobody cares about you, right? But it's amazing being the CEO of VHub, but not because I have the title, but because of the kind of team that we've been able to build. And having an accomplished team is when I realized that I'm actually successful as a CEO. And pressure, of course. And again, it is not pressure, it is just the importance on work. So there's a difference. If you think of something as pressure, it becomes stress. If you think of something as a importance of work, it feels like achievable goals. So I would rather say that go with that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So Okay, I would be pursuing MBA in oil and gas management. People say to me, I'm making a mistake and that girls have no career in male dominated industry. And I'm just wasting my parents' money. Is that so? Is that right? Is this really demotivates me? What should I be doing? So she says that she wanted to pursue this particular course, but people kind of feed her in a different manner. So what should she do about it?
Not listen to people, simple as that. Because
So
end of the day, don't listen to anybody. Again, when I say that, don't just like ignore everybody, but what I'm trying to get at is you're doing something which you love. So
hmm,
instead of listening to what is pulling you back, focus on the issues that they are raising and try to excel in those. Because when you focus on the negative feedback, and you get a little bit upset or angry, it is not going to do any good. But if you actually listen to the negative feedback, and when people are saying that you don't have a career in the male dominated field, the beauty is that you can actually say, come on man, I can do it anyway. So the vengeance, the best way to kind of get back at people who pull you back is to actually go out and do it anyway, and do it better than anybody can expect. So don't listen to anybody, just make sure that you are the best at what you're doing. That's all.
okay, that's wonderful. So there's an interesting question which says that which are the industries or sectors which are flourishing, which would flourish in the coming times for specifically for women?
All sectors, man.
Okay.
See, if we say women, man, then it is again, I'm telling you, right? You are actually limiting yourself. When the world itself is limitless, why would you want to kind of limit yourself to one or the other? But again, when I say this, I'm not saying you dabble in everything, but choose something currently. Like now deep tech is doing very very well. So this girl who said there is no career in oil and gas or whatever MBA, the thing is, if she can actually bring in an element of tech into whatever she's doing, she can actually be working for BP or something, doing some major research work. So there are a lot of aspects in that. Yeah. So
Okay.
every sector is important. Yeah.
Lovely. So there is Monica Shrivastava. She asked, "Hello, ma'am. Your journey is so inspirational. Ma'am, as a CEO of WeHub, what tips and tricks would you like to give to young women entrepreneurs?" You've already answered
Yeah.
this,
So very simple. Her name is Kanika, right?
Monica.
Monica, hi. Monica, so the thing is, tips and tricks are quite simple. Don't try to say that, I want to do 100 things. So choose, when you want to be an entrepreneur, choose on, choose three or four and take a whiteboard, and then make sure that you write down your four ideas, and then you write the pros and cons of each of these. And once you write that and you see your vision on the board, it's so much clearer for you. And then you'll be able to like choose one idea. That is number one. So strong ideas is number one. Second thing is make sure that you find an amazing mentor like Juhi, who will actually like, be your devil's advocate and also a strong mentor as and when because you need a sounding board for your ideas. Because when you are trying to do something, you are so married to it that you will not be able to hear any negative
Yes.
stuff about it. So make sure that you find somebody who can actually be your sounding board and a devil's advocate. Number three, if somebody kind of like, if you feel that there are gaps, try to fill them, not run away from them. These are top three things that you need to do to be a proper entrepreneur yourself.
Lovely, it is lovely. So, Viti Shambhavi Agrawal asked that I'm a 17-year-old girl and I want to be a young mental health advocate. So, she must be a legal person, a law person. I took forward an initiative of awareness on importance of mental health by deleting my past Instagram post. But I wanted to ask you how to carry forward this idea. So,
So Shambi, very, very nice idea, but I don't
okay.
understand why you had to delete your Instagram post. I mean, come on, man, it's yours. But to carry forward this idea, this is actually something very, very relevant, and there is a lot of taboo around it. One of the ways to do this is actually to very importantly, create a network of like-minded individuals. Like maybe find two or three Shambi Agarwals who are focusing on something, and create a very curated curriculum and start. Engaging with young women such as yourself to talk about to have a much open conversation. Number one. Second thing is, as you do this, you're only 17, you have about 3 to 4 years where you can hone in on your idea and be a lot more clearer in what you want to achieve. Then you can actually bring in an element of tech so that you can integrate into many of the social media platforms that are there today, and which are the cause of many social media angst and so many mental health problems among so many young people. And that can be a very killer startup idea for you.
Amazing idea. Absolutely, I completely agree with you, Deepti. And I would like to tell her that world is deficient, market is deficient of legal mental health professionals.
Yes.
It is completely deficient. I mean, your idea could be an amazing
Yeah.
idea. It could be a great hit. So she further asked, I would like to carry this question, because she says now an interesting thing. So I could again post my mental health ideas on Instagram.
Of course you should.
Okay.
By the way, one more thing is that you chose to be on the platform, just go with it.
Hmm.
That's it. Why do you care about what anybody is saying? Of course, don't be silly, but you get the drift. Don't put your personal information out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Rukmani Sharma says, I'm okay. She must be joining from some other ID. She's Kajal Sharma says, I would like to connect with Deepti ma'am over LinkedIn. So I've already sent her an invitation on LinkedIn. Would you please connect? Deepti,
Fine.
you need to follow her. I also tried. There's no direct connect. You need to follow her.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there must be some setting. Uh,
I'm
so of course you can do. She said already. Okay. Okay. What are the early preparations to be a good entrepreneur during our college? Interesting question.
so good preparations. Number one, be an excellent student.
Hmm.
The reason I say this is because there is a very wonderful book called Range. I would like to advise you all of you read it. So the reason I say this is because when you're an excellent student, you will have the confidence that you're wonderful at something. So it builds your confidence, number one. Second thing is that make sure you are able to prioritize your time well. The reason I say this is because the time you have now is so much more precious. I sound like my teacher back in the day, and I found them very boring. But with the changing times right now, it's important to prioritize your time and split your time into various different tasks. Ensure you have a timetable even on a holiday.
Hmm.
I'm not saying, have fun from 5 to 6 and 6 o'clock stop having fun. No, I don't mean that. I just mean that, you put a list of things that you want to do every day. Number three, most important, is that start connecting with your peers much beyond Masti. Number four is that three or four of you get together and talk about not why your idea is the best, but the business potential of an idea.
Hmm.
Start researching more. So these are 3 to 4 good discipline. And number five, read a lot. Read a lot, read a lot, read a lot. And that is something which is going to broaden your horizons more than you ever imagine. So yeah.
Great, great. So Anushka says, what are the options in aeronautical branch I really want to pursue? I want to venture out in this particular field, aeronautical engineering, and so anything which is going big there.
Hyderabad is a hub for aerospace and defense.
Hmm.
So I think there is always a need for aeronautical engineers. So being the best person. Katam. Yeah.
Great. So another question says, interesting one. So you must have you faced any kind of rejections in your life or ignorance by others? If yes, how did you handle it?
Of course, I face it every day.
Hmm.
So again, I'll tell you a very interesting story. So I got a call from one more very big CVO of a big incubator of a big business school in Hyderabad. And then she called me at 6:30 in the evening, and she says on Friday evening at 6:30, she says, Deepti, I've heard that you're becoming this person who is not listening to anybody and just going ahead and doing VHub the way you want to do it. And then I was like very surprised. And the person also told me she heard from somebody who had come to her office that I should also be fired from a job. All I answered to her is, it's 6:30 in the evening. I'm still in my office working, whereas that person is coming and talking about me to you. So that kind of showcases, whose position is what. The reason I'm telling you the story is that people will say a lot of things. There will be a lot of people who do not understand what you're doing. But as long as you take it in the right spirit, I have a lot of rejections every single day, not a problem. But the thing is, there will be a merit in why they are saying something. And if there is something you can learn from it, please improve yourself. And, if somebody is just being ignorant about what you're doing, just let it go. It's a joke for the day. So that's all. I mean, just take it in right spirit, man.
Lovely, lovely. What a beautiful anecdote. So Tanupriya asked, and she's an entrepreneur, I'm sure. Your journey is quite inspirational, being in current scenario, how to make marketing work as being an early stage of a startup. Tanu is, I think, Venedo Cap co-founder,
Hmm.
and she wishes to ask how to make marketing work.
Nice. I'm glad you asked this question. So, if you notice, there are a lot of offers that are being given by a lot of social media platforms for marketing. Even Canva had, 3 to 4 months free. I don't know if you actually took advantage of that. And, there are a lot of students who are not able to grab a job now. So you can actually make sure that you can offer some kind of an internship to some excellent students who can actually enable you to do marketing in exchange for a certificate or an experience. So I think that is one way to kind of like bootstrap and do better without getting into too much of a financial thing. Most importantly, when you engage in these things, you will actually be much more creative, and that can be a success story in itself. Yeah.
Absolutely, very well said. So another interesting question which is asked by
I like Sanya's question. You said read,
okay.
read, read. What should I read?
What should I read? you, you
So
gave the name of a
Sanya,
book.
I love the question, Sanya. I mean, if somebody gives you some gyan and goes, you'll be like, what the hell did they mean? And I'm happy you voiced it. I love it. So I say, when you said what you read, to be very honest, read anything you can get your hands on. The reason is, if I tell you that I love reading only very inspirational books, that may not be something that you would be interested in. So read Calvin Hobbes, read
Hmm.
Tintin, you can read Shikari Shambhu. At the same time, try to read something which is of interest to you. Read what interests you, but read anything you want except film fare and all that, because I'm not a movie person, so I don't know much about it. Yeah.
So one person says, I missed her question. It must be somewhere, but I remember it. So yeah, Saloni asked, is it important to have plans or just go with the flow?
So okay, it's a very interesting question, Saloni. I am glad you asked it. See, have a plan of where you want to be, but go with the flow when you're achieving the plan. Number one. The reason I say this is because let's say you want to become the CEO of something and you have a 10-step process, right? The 10 steps can actually be interchanged, right? So the modalities of how you get to your goal will be different, but have a plan of where you want to be. The reason I say this is because let's say you want to do one thing, but then you will say, agar main ye nahi kar saki to I'll do something else or something else or something else or something else. That means you are saying that if my plan A fails, I'll go to plan B. If not, then plan B, then plan C. That means you're never going to put your 100% to plan A. So have a plan with 100% enthusiasm and determination. But getting to plan A, let the modalities change, let the process change, but ensure that you're on track. That's all. But go with the flow, because if you take yourself too seriously, you'll become a very boring person. Yeah.
So there's a question that what is your okay? I'm really pleased to ask the confidence mantra rather than success mantra. How do you raise a voice when even our parents categorize us as diamond that needs to be protected?
Protected and paid for. Diamonds are expensive, so make sure that you take startup bootstrapping fund from them only. But jokes apart, see, the thing is, if you try to reason with people on why you are trying to do something, it is going to be a lot of mental struggle. Rather, you put your mental energies into doing what you want to do and being successful at it. Once success has so many more friends. So I would say that, instead of trying to say, they're not letting me do this or that, start what you want to do and be excellent at it, and smaller steps. If you want to do something much bigger than what somebody would like to allow you to do, take smaller steps towards it and show gradual success. They will definitely fall in line. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I'm confident. Janvi says, I'm confident in what I do, but also feel shy. And because of people um, around lose it so, I have faced it, and how should I overcome it?
So
I'm not very
Janvi, I
clear.
understand your question. So as you see, I'm not very shy, so I cannot answer how this is. But what I'm trying to get at is when you are shy and people around you are not having the patience to listen, wait for you to answer something, start writing and presenting. People will wait. And I never faced it because, I mean, I'm not shy. So, I mean, yeah. Yeah. Have a strong point and people will come around. Yeah.
So two last questions I'm raising here because it's already 5:58. And Krishna says, the hardest decision you have ever made till date.
Uh, I have not made any hard decisions yet. I just felt like I should do something and I did it. That's all. I
Okay.
hope I never get to the hard decisions. Yeah.
So Samiksha writes that I want to be a genetic researcher. That's interesting. But until now, I'm not able to find a top-notch research institute to work with in India where I could enjoy and earn at the same time. I have even tried searching for some internship, but unfortunately could not find any. So my question is, do we have any scope for this course that is genetic research in India? So,
Amiksha, I'll be very honest. Respectfully, I think you did not do a good search. Were you using Bing or what? So the reason I say this is because if you look at the COVID things today, everybody is doing research. So please find something which is an allied field to what you want to do, and then obviously you'll segue into it. And please do a better search, respectfully.
so, Dikti, I would like to ask one more question. Though I promised you that there are going to be two last questions to you, but there's an anonymous attendee here. But ask, she says, "Ma'am, sometimes I feel myself very incapable. I feel hard to connect to communicate with people. I want to do my best of what I'm doing, but if I just get stuck somewhere, I feel like maybe I'm not really capable. Please help."
So anonymous attendee, one thing is that again, when you're stuck somewhere, maybe your methodology was wrong. So go back to the start and try something else.
Hmm.
That means you'll be more creative, and of course you're capable because you're actually asking a question in a very nice manner.
Hmm.
So maybe your methodology was wrong. So if you're stuck somewhere, go back to the drawing board, write down what your approach was, and make some tiny changes. And yeah, capability, everybody has the same capability. It is just that people keep failing and failing and failing, and then they realize that I failed because damn, I did that last step wrong, I'll do something else. So just keep learning. I mean, everybody is capable. And for everything else, there is Google. So please.
Google Baba is there, of course. So lovely insights, Deepthi. It was so wonderful to have you here. And in my Thanksgiving speech, I would like to take few names. It was an enlightening session, definitely. Thanks so much for joining in. Uh, so we say thanks from the entire UPS Shakti team, entire UPS as a university. And I wish to thank our mentor, Mr. Sharad Mehra, who's CEO of GUS Asia Pacific, for all the support and encouragement. Thanks to our leaders and motivators, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Sunil Rai, deans, registrar, heads, faculty, and my dear students who joined this particular webinar. And a big thanks to Dr. Ram Sharma who connected us.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's director academic strategy who connected us, and of course Suti Gandhi, the marketing lead. To her entire team, I would like to thank Sid. Sid is here. Sukeshi, Shailaja, Aditi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with me always. I would like to thank my director HRs, Monica and Jaya ma'am. Last but not least, Nupur. Again, she's there. Here, I mean, Nupur and Preeti for supporting me, promoting this particular event and being with me, and my entire Shakti team. Thank you so much for always being here with me and doing a lot of good stuff. And I'm sure such webinars are going to help our students in a big, big way. So we will definitely connect otherwise also, Deepti, for a lot of
Thank you.
good things.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank you.
so much for joining us.
All the
Thank
best to all of you, and thank you so much, Juhi, for being a wonderful moderator. And I just would
you.
love the questions. So hopefully someday soon, I'd love to come visit you guys.
100% we would
Yeah.
invite you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great
Thanks.
evening. Thanks. Stay safe, all of you. Bye bye.
Take care. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.